Over the course of my career, I have interviewed hundreds of candidates for product manager roles. You'd be amazed at how easy it would have been for so many of the good ones to become great ones just by making a few small changes. Now, before we start in on 3 of those changes, drop a comment down below and share your best interview advice for your fellow product managers. I'll just wait here. Done? Good. I'm also going to share a little extra advice at the end of the video that has served me so well through my entire career, and actually not just when interviewing. So let's dive in. Tip number 1, have questions ready. This one may sound really obvious to some of you, but I would say that a solid 80% of candidates don't arrive to an interview with questions. There's an easy advantage for you, just right there. Almost every interviewer will leave time at the end of the interview and say, "Do you have any questions for me?" The wrong answer each and every time is, "No, I think you answered all of them already." You would be amazed how often I get that answer. As a product manager, you will live and die by your own curiosity. You have to be able to ask questions, dig deeper. If you are sitting in an interview with me and you don't ask me anything about the product, the culture, the company performance, anything, then I will wonder how you will ferret out important details about how customers and markets work should I give you the job. It's not hard to do. Spend an hour or two on the company's website. Websites are generally designed to invoke curiosity. If the company states a bold value proposition for its software, ask about it. Don't flatter the interviewer about it. Tell them what a great job they've done. Ask a clarifying question. Is that consistent with your entire market base? Are there particular capabilities in the software that yield those types of results? What is the company's strategy to keep driving increasing value into their customers and so on? And those are just generics. It's really easy to come up with specific questions that show you've given some thought to the product and to the company. It doesn't even matter if your questions are a little bit off base. No interviewer is going to expect you to be born with the knowledge of how their business runs or what makes their software unique. But they are going to care whether you care. And that's what asking questions demonstrates. Tip number 2, don't force the interviewer to interrupt you. While this is a potential pitfall for interviewing for any role, product managers have the blessing and curse of a very wide area of expertise. In a typically honest attempt to display what they know, product managers have a natural tendency to elaborate and provide context. In some situations, this is great, but in an interview, it can be too much. Sometimes candidates just ramble because of nerves. People often do when they're stressed out during an interview. This is natural to an extent, but the interviewer does want to get certain things out of the interview, and that may or may not include your entire life story. I know it's stressful, but do your best not to waste your time and the interviewers by straying off topic too frequently. Try your best to answer the question that was asked, and then feel free to ask the interviewer whether they would like a little bit more detail, rather than just become a word geyser for 5 minutes straight. And I hope it goes without saying, but having the interviewer interrupt you because you're evading their question isn't a great thing for your prospects either. Tip number 3, think past the sale. Okay, what the heck do I mean by that? Well, thinking past the sale is a method of persuasion and influence, and chances are you've had it done to you too. It's a psychological tool that can be used to get someone to think about what happens after they've made a decision or taken action. By doing that, you can influence the odds that the person actually makes that decision or takes that action. It's used all the time in sales, which I assume is where the term came from. So how do you use it in an interview, you may be asking? Well, it's actually not a big leap, really. When you stop and think about it, all an interview is the opportunity for you to sell your skills, your expertise, your experience, and so forth. To talk past the sale, talk about how you apply all of that when, not if, you're hired. Here's an example of a great interview question you can ask that talks past the sale. And hey, in doing this, you will have used tip number 1 and tip number 3 all in the same action. Here goes. After a year of working together, what would make you look back and say, "Wow, Russ really nailed it. I'm so glad we hired him"? See what I did there? I got the interviewer thinking about what success looks like for them and for me working together miles down the road. As you're answering questions and asking them, look for opportunities to talk, as if the decision has already been made. To do that, you can avoid conditionals like, if you hired me, and try to turn them into, after I start. Alright, I promised one more tidbit of advice before closing out the video. Thank you for watching to this point. The last bit of advice is advice that I was given years and years ago, but it applies to so many areas of business and personal growth, not just interviews. The advice is a quote. This is just practice for the next one. It's a pretty simple mindset that interviewing or just about anything else is a skill. You get better with practice. Take the opportunity to calm your nerves and treat the interview like a dress rehearsal. You'll have more interviews later, and the more you do, the better you will become at doing them. It also puts you in a good mental state to reflect on an interview and try to understand what worked and what didn't work, so you can refine and just do better next time, whenever that is. Finally, if you're turned down for the role, it is completely okay to ask for feedback, assuming that none was given. You may or may not get any feedback, but if you do, you can take that as something to consider for your next interview. And tip for interviewers, provide feedback. It's not hard. Just do it. And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching. If you found this video useful, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.